loving. I like you guys.
For this one, there was a lot of, I guess I knew that kind of the core was going to be the motorcycle riding. And the more that I could feel comfortable in that space, and the better. So I rode a lot, and to the point where, I could smell the gasoline on my skin and smell the oil and the cigarette smoke, and you get to a certain point where you feel immersed in that world. And I just tried to hang out with as many of the great motorcycle riders that I could. That was the core of it for me. Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of the environment that you create, and I mean that's what I found for him, because he's a man of few words, and so obviously there's all the other work that you do, but that was the first element. It was the thing that I knew that he loved almost more than anything else in the world, was that feeling of freedom that you get on a motorcycle. So I needed to know what that felt like.
Johnny always loved Benny.
This is our family. Forever.
Well, I think you always feel like, oh, once it's done. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I did it. Like, I did the thing. I think with Kathy, it was like, because she was like the narrator, like she spoke a lot, but she spoke in a very specific way, tonally, that I immediately fell in love with and wanted to try and emulate as truthfully as possible, which was terrifying to me. I think especially because, I'd been a huge fan of Jeff's work. It's incredibly natural and grounded and kind of character driven. And there's an element of who Kathy is that is kind of larger than life. And I was aware that there was a danger of her seeming, I knew there was going to be moments on set where I took it too far and Jeff was going to come in and go, just less, and that like your ego can be a bit like, oh God, feel like as an actor, there's nothing worse than someone be like, it's too much. You're like, oh God, I'm doing that thing. Yeah. So I was very aware of that, which was kind of a little scary going in.
These young guys, they ain't gotta follow nobody except somebody who can hold their own.
I mean, I was only on it a couple of times, but just seeing the kind of orchestration of that, of like Adam Stone, our DOP, being on, like those guys were on the camera department, were on moving vehicles, whilst all the bikers were simultaneously moving. And I mean, you can speak to that much more than I can, but
there were so many different ways to be shot, but I mean, anything like this where we're in the entire pack. One example was we had a picture car that has a crane on it, so the camera's in the back of the car, and the car is driving this way, and so the camera's on the car, and then we're all on bikes just behind it, and you kind of have to dodge the pebbles and stuff that the car flicks up in your face, and but we did so much work ahead of time, getting used to riding in packs, and then there's just the special moments where I'd look over at Tom and Jeff Milburn, who really taught me so much about motorcycles, and you just feel joy. You feel so free and with all your friends, and it's a great feeling.
I love that it was a sense of freedom and not pressure of like, oh, we gotta be in sync, we gotta make sure we get this shot right.
Yeah, there's definitely, you feel the stakes are high, because if anything were to go wrong, we weren't wearing helmets. But we had such a great group around us that we all felt very safe.
It was amazing. I think it's interesting because I think Kathy has a very different insight, because she is a Vandal, but purely from her marriage to Benny. So she's in there, but she is kind of on the periphery, so is able to see their behaviors and the kind of dangers of that behavior that they necessarily can't, because they're so embedded within it. What was the question again?
What it means to you to provide that female perspective of really unveiling this false mask?
It was lovely, and what I really appreciated was that like Jeff felt it was equally as important, and I think interesting, you know. And something that struck me, actually, that's what I wanted to say, was when I listened to the audio of her, it felt like to me that Danny asking her was like the first time someone had said, "What do you think?" You know, like she was so bottled up and ready to go that it was like, I don't think anyone, especially being a woman in that era in this incredibly masculine environment, had ever actually asked her what she thought. So she was like ready. So it's like to be able to give her that space was pretty cool.